What exactly is happening behind the scenes of international diplomacy right now? Why are several key players suddenly adjusting their schedules, reconsidering planned meetings, and sending signals that may influence the course of regional stability? And most importantly, what does this mean for the future of discussions around the long-awaited negotiation process between Russia and Ukraine? In recent days, attention has turned toward Turkey, a country positioning itself once again as a bridge between two sides that have not returned to the negotiation table for many months. Officials in Ankara repeatedly emphasized their readiness to host new dialogue, and expectations began to rise as President Volodymyr Zelenskyy prepared for a working visit scheduled for this Wednesday. But just as anticipation grew, several unexpected developments emerged. A high-level U.S. representative, Steve Witkoff, the special envoy of the U.S. President for Middle East Affairs, was initially expected to join the discussions in Turkey and meet with Zelenskyy. His presence was interpreted by many observers as a signal that Washington is closely following the diplomatic momentum in the region. However, according to multiple American and Ukrainian sources cited by Axios, the trip was postponed. This sudden change raised questions. Was it a routine scheduling adjustment, or a sign of a more complex dynamic unfolding between Washington, Kyiv, and Ankara? And now the main question remains: could this alter the prospects of restarting direct talks, or is it simply a practical shift that will not affect the broader process? Today we explore every angle: the timeline, the public statements, expert expectations, and what may happen in the days ahead. According to Axios, U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff had been scheduled to travel to Turkey for a meeting with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy. The visit was reportedly aligned with diplomatic discussions involving Turkey's efforts to encourage a renewed dialogue between Russia and Ukraine. However, sources told the outlet that Witkoff postponed his trip, leading to speculation about U.S. strategic considerations and the timing of ongoing consultations. Turkey has consistently expressed interest in helping revive discussions between Russia and Ukraine. The head of the Turkish Presidential Communications Office, Burhanettin Duran, confirmed that the negotiation process would be included in the agenda during Zelenskyy's expected visit to Ankara. A Turkish diplomatic source speaking earlier this week emphasized that Ankara is focused on restarting the process, but also noted that there are currently no finalized details about a potential new meeting format. Turkey has hosted talks before, most notably in Istanbul. Previous rounds resulted in several humanitarian outcomes, such as the exchange of detainees, the transfer of remains of Ukrainian servicemen, a preliminary exchange of draft documents related to conflict settlement efforts. These were widely regarded as constructive, although the broader political roadmap has remained unresolved. The postponement does not necessarily indicate a shift in U.S. policy. Often, diplomatic travel plans change due to logistical reasons. However, in this case, the timing has drawn attention because the visit coincided with Zelenskyy's key diplomatic engagements and Turkey's renewed push for structured dialogue. Experts note several possible interpretations. Washington may prefer more internal consultations before participating in any new diplomatic format. The U.S. may be observing commitments from both Kyiv and Ankara before confirming direct involvement. It could be an administrative delay unrelated to geopolitical considerations. At the same time, Kyiv is preparing for discussions that include topics such as bilateral cooperation with Turkey, regional security, steps toward establishing a stable and long-term framework for reducing tensions. Turkey's Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan recently stated that the situation in the region is nearing a phase where hostilities could pause, suggesting that Ankara sees an opportunity for renewed dialogue. However, this does not guarantee a breakthrough. Diplomatic sources emphasize that both sides still need to clarify their expectations, and major political questions remain unresolved. Possible scenarios include Turkey hosting exploratory consultations between delegations, a broader diplomatic format involving several international partners, a series of bilateral meetings leading up to a more formal negotiation process. Much will depend on positions taken by Kyiv and Moscow, the involvement of the U.S. and other partners, regional dynamics in the coming weeks. Even though the postponement of the U.S. envoy's visit adds uncertainty, it does not eliminate the possibility of progress.